Today we're going to look at how to make a Moodle glossary. To start with, you have to turn your editing on, come down to add a new activity or resource, and from the list of activities, scroll down until you find glossary, check the button. As with all activities and with resources, as listed on the bottom, once you click on it, it's going to give you a good overview of what the actual module does. And it's well worth reading these, as they give you a lot of good information. So what I'm going to say is add. And it will bring me to my settings screen to set up the actual glossary. I need to give it a name. That's a required field. As is the description field. Now, if you'd like to make this description available for viewing, we would pick Display Description on Course Page. And I can also click Show Editing Tools if I want to use any of the HTML tools to pretty it up a little bit. So that would make that available to me. So here I'm going to say, please enter at least 4 terms by the due date. Okay. Now, the next checkbox asks if this is a global glossary. If I were to check that box, then any word that was listed in the glossary and also appeared within the text of the site itself, the text on the site would become a link to the glossary. Next setting is Glossary Type. There are only 2 types, main and secondary. You can only have one main glossary per site, and what the main glossary does is it collects the information from the other glossaries and displays it in one place. So it's very possible to have multiple glossaries within a site and have none of them be a main glossary, have them all be independent. That's what I'm going to set here. Now, next we come to the entries group of settings. When I open that up, it's going to ask me, do I want the entries approved by default? If I set that to no, it simply means I'm going to have to go in and look at them before they become visible on the page. In this case, I'll leave it to yes. Always allow editing. Now this is currently set to no, and what that means is that once someone makes an entry, after 30 minutes, they will not be able to go in and edit even their own entry. If I turn it to yes, they would be able to come back at any point and make edits to an entry that they themselves had made. Duplicate entries allowed. This is currently set to no, which means 2 people can't use the exact same word. They can't enter the same word into the system. Allow comments on entries. Currently it's set to no, but if I changed it to yes, someone could make an entry. Other registered users in the class could give them feedback on that entry through comments. The last setting in this particular group is automatically link glossary entries. As I said before, it's possible to have links created on the page so that text on the page links to an item in the glossary if it's present, and setting this to yes would make that happen. If I set it to no, I could still have those same terms in the glossary, but there wouldn't be a link established on the page itself. The next group of settings goes under Appearance, and the first is Display Format. Now if I pull down the arrow, you can see that there are a variety of different formats you can use. The best way to really get a feel for these is to create a glossary, put some information into it, and then switch between the different types, and that will give you a good feel for how the formatting changes between types. Also, if you're looking for a complete list of types or descriptions of anything really, of any of these settings, these question marks next to the category give you more information about that particular setting. Okay, next setting, Approval Display Format. Basically, what this allows you to do is to have a different format as the one who approves the entry. So very often it's left to default to the same as you wanted in the display format, but it is possible to change that if you'd like. How many entries per page? So is 10 sufficient, or I can change this to 20? That simply means that if I have 20 entries in a category, they will all display on the page before we need to use a hyperlink to get to a new page for additional entries. These next settings here all revolve around how to navigate the glossary once it's completed or once it has data in it. Show alphabet links. That would just give you letters A through Z. And if you clicked on any of them, it would jump you to that point in the glossary. So clicking on N would jump me to where the N words in the glossary started. I can also do a show all link. So that's going to do as it says. It's going to show me as many entries as possible that fit within the limits of my page, which I've set here. Show special links allows us to search by special characters, which is generally not very useful, but it's possible. And allow print view. Okay, so do I want to be able to generate a view to print out this glossary in a nice, neat format? And often the answer is yes. Next, let's look at the settings under grade. There's only one in this case, and basically it allows me to choose which grade category to add this assignment to. So that helps in the gradebook as to determine how it's to be weighted and graded. Ratings. Under ratings, you can decide to allow ratings or not to allow ratings. So basically when someone puts an entry in there, people may be able to go in and actually rate that entry. So I'm going to say that I'd like the average of the ratings to be the score, because this is what will go into gradebooks. When you come into scale, you can choose how many points this is worth. So this particular activity is only going to be worth 15 points as far as classwork. And you can also restrict ratings to items within a certain date range. So if I chose this, I could say this is the first date and time that I will accept a rating, and this is the last date and time that I will accept a rating. The last category at the bottom is common module settings, and the most important thing here to remember is that you can hide it temporarily, or you can choose here to show it immediately. Of course, we know that once this is saved and out on your Moodle, that it's very easy there to show it or hide it as well. And those are the basic settings to do with Glossary. So once you get it set up, you simply say save and return to course. And you can see the activity has now been added. Now to go back and change the activity, make edits to it, you would simply click the gear, and that would bring you back into the same area that we used to create it. Or you can click directly on the text for the name of the activity itself, and that will bring you and any students, etc., into the area where you can actually make entries. So you can see there's an Add a New Entry button, and that will pop up a window that allows me to make an entry. So the concept here is remembering it's important tech terms, so I'm just going to say RAM, and then down here I would type my description. I could add keywords if I wanted, and I also have the opportunity to add an attachment. So this is very handy, I think, in academic work, because if you're asking students to do any kind of research and support their answer, they could use this for their supporting entry right here. Now, if I've allowed auto linking, checking this box over here would create a link from this word if it appears on text in a site and the entry in the glossary. I can decide whether it's case sensitive or not, and I can also set it to match whole words only, not parts of words, and this all has to do with the auto linking from the site. So let me quickly complete this entry. I've already put in the term RAM, so I'll just say random access memory Okay, and in this case I'm not going to upload an attachment, but once I complete the entry, I simply say save. And in a second or two it saves, and you can see that it now appears in my glossary. Now I could continue to add new items. Other users can add new items, anyone who has the permissions to do so. Now, down here I have several choices as to how to look at this information. So I could browse by author, and you can see now that I am the author of this entry. I could browse by date. And were there a list here, I could then sort them by date order. I can browse by category. And I have no subcategories presently, but if there were, I could sort them by category, and then of course by alphabet. Which means if there was an entry, we're currently under R, if there was an entry under A, I could click here, and I would jump to the A's. Of course, there's no entries found at this point because my glossary is not very populated as of this point. Okay, when you're done, I'm just going to return to the course. And that completes the instruction on how to create a glossary.